Thank you, Aaron. So today I'm here to talk about changing student culture through engagement. Over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to get almost completely immersed in the performing arts here at Penn State. It's actually a saying in one of my organizations that you can major in whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you'll end up majoring in thespians as well. And it's this thread throughout the entire performing arts community that you have so many passionate people working on the things that really they absolutely love. But it's it's community that is almost non-existent and is the reason why the Performing Arts Council, also known as PAC, was founded. We thought that if we could engage student groups and get them to collaborate a little more often, we could get them to make more creative art, as well as get every student at Penn State to have a transformative experience in the arts. That's why our mission is to change or foster a student performing arts culture in which performing arts can flourish. Now, we've seen this, and that's what I'll be talking about today, but I'll also be talking about the challenges that make it so difficult to change any kind of culture here at Penn State. Other than putting this together, this organization, I've had the opportunity to see other types of changes at Penn State. And that experience has allowed me to sort of understand what it's like to see the student culture through a different lens. And I like to call it the fabric of student culture. So to dive into that analogy, let's look at the fabric of performing arts. There are 5 different genres. We have dance, instrumental, writing, theater, and a cappella. And with each one of these genres, there are organizations. So within dance, for example, we have, let's say, Tapestry and Ram Squad. But those organizations are separated by a tear. There are separations all over this performing arts fabric. And PAC's first step has been to bring them together. Ooh, that's going fast. Bring them together and close that seam between those two organizations. And we've been doing that by identifying similarities between these organizations and sort of engaging them to make those groups actually come together. But then, at a greater level, we're trying to engage the whole performing arts community. And we've been doing that by offering marketing resources, by providing workshops to navigate student affairs and student activities, as well as provide performance opportunities for these groups to actually engage together. However, these separations and these tears are seen throughout the entire student culture. And that's where sort of this map, this quilt, if you go further into the analogy, comes into play. Here you can see all of these different populations here at Penn State. You have student government, you have the arts, academics, Greek life, spiritual groups, media, and they all connect through students who are engaging with other students of diverse organizational backgrounds. And that makes Penn State so incredibly great. But the thing about this picture is that in reality, because this is just a construct in our head, we don't see it as perfect as it is. There are actually tears, as I was talking about, through the whole fabric. There are holes. There are some organizations that are fading and some that don't even exist at all. That's what I saw in the performing arts about 20 months ago. And to start solving those problems, we had to dive in and look at how we engage at the most basic level, and how we engage between 2 students in one organization. So here we have No Refund Theater, NRT, and imagine these 2 circles are 2 different students. So they could be 2 directors, an actor and a director, 2 different actors who engage and create these threads of communication that then build the fabric of No Refund Theater. Now, that fabric is incredibly strong and dense because there are so many students that are always engaging with each other, but that enables students, specifically the leaders in that organization, to pull that fabric in certain directions. And when we pull it in those directions, we have the ability to create change. And that's why these organizations, we sort of see the most change at that small organizational level. But this also poses a problem because when students pull in different directions, you create a really taut fabric, and a fabric that can potentially tear, tatter, and rip. Now, when we go out another level, we see a medium level of engagement between 2 organizations. And it creates this seam where students, say, in thespians, interact with students in No Refund Theater. And this is probably one of the best examples because they share and have opportunities to engage on a regular basis. Thespians in No Refund Theater, for example, share an office space. However, organizations like Ram Squad and Tapestry, which I mentioned earlier, don't have those opportunities, and that's where the Performing Arts Council comes in. We create opportunities for engagement between organizations, and through that, we're able to achieve greater mission achievement, as well as actually making an impact here at Penn State through what we're doing with our own individual organizations. But holding this team together is incredibly difficult because changes in leadership occur every year, so we need to find ways to make this sustainable. And that's where organizations like the Interfraternity Council, Council of Lionhearts, and the Performing Arts Council come together because they have specific missions that focus in on specific areas and specific populations at Penn State to make sure that those relationships remain stable. And then finally, at this largest level of engagement, we have students who are spanning two different large populations. For example, student government and the performing arts. When one student is situated at that rare corner, and we don't have many students that are doing this, but they have the potential to make the most amount of change here at Penn State because they really are between two juggernauts in terms of the amount of students that they can actually push forward and affect change. But because this is so difficult, it requires either incredibly strong leaders or leaders to grow incredibly quickly. But the university has some really cool safety checks to make sure that that happens. We have organizations like Student Leader Roundtable, as well as other organizations that make students engage with each other so that we have these large populations coming together. But when we look at the overall picture again, we realize that there are these challenges with how they engage. There are student organizations, there we go. There are student organizations that are starting to fade. There are organizations that are being torn apart. We start to see that the student culture has tatters in it, and some organizations are going away completely. So how do we fix that? How do we sew it all together? And we do that, firstly, by addressing the people that actually make the change possible, the students. Now, in my experience here at Penn State, there are three different types of students. There are students who recognize change and then engage in it. They take action to actually make a difference. There are students who recognize change and do not engage in it. They say, I understand what's going on and I fully support it, but I'm going to stay in my dorm room or I'll just go about my normal business. And then finally, there are the students who don't even recognize that change is even happening. Now, everyone in this room, you're at State of State. You're here making a difference and you're really talking about the issues that matter at Penn State today. And so I doubt that anyone here is actually in this third group. But there might be a few people in the second group, and this goes for faculty, administrators as well. And I encourage everyone to elevate themselves to this first level. But it's also the responsibility of everyone in this room to raise their peers from the third level up to the second, and from the second level up to the first, because it's only with conscious engagement with everyone in the room, as well as the people that aren't, because they perhaps are the most important people out of everyone and everything we're trying to do. If we can get them to rise up, then I think we'll see the change we want to. But then that begs the question, and I realize that begs the question is not the right phrase, sorry. But it asks the question of what can we do to actually make change? Well, first, we need to be critical of the student culture fabric. And what I mean by that is this idealization, this conceptualization of a fabric sort of makes a pristine look seem like that is what we're looking at. And so what I'm actually asking is saying there are tears, so go out and find them. There are places that we can make an impact. So identify them, and then with your peers and the people around you, sew them together. Second, I want to stress that positive change is always possible. No matter how big a situation feels or how impossible or how well put together an organization is, there's always a way to make an impact and make positive change. So go out there and find it if it's something you really love to do. And then finally, I'm going to combine these last two. If you or your peers don't already have an organization that you really full-heartedly believe in, I urge you to go find that, because it's when you have an organization that you can really push forward that will make a difference here at Penn State, that's when we create the structure that enables change and that enables the entire student culture to come together. So I'd like to leave you with two last thoughts. The first one is when you're having these conversations at your tables, be thinking about how you engage and how you connect with the communities here at Penn State. Talk about the different populations that you live in and how you can make it better and what efforts maybe your peers are doing to make it better. And then finally, I want you to think about at least one, maybe two actions that you can take today to sew together some of those gaps that you identify to make Penn State a better place. Thank you, and I enjoy the opportunity to come and have these conversations with you guys.